Hello, and welcome to the Saturday, June 15th meeting of TV Toastmasters. TV Toastmasters meets the first Thursday of the month at 6 p.m. and the third Saturday of the month at 9 a.m. at the Anderson Community Television Studio, located at 7850 5 Mile Road. We welcome you to come and join us and check out what our meetings are all about. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to those looking in from home, as well as our guests in the audience. We have three guests today: Patty Raggett, Jed Ellsperman, our area government, and Diego Martinez. Hello, fellow Toastmasters. We're ready for an exciting meeting today. I am now going to pass over the lectern to our Toastmaster of the day, Ms. Carol Cormelink.
Thank you, Madam President. And good morning, everyone in the studio and the viewing audience at home, as Michelle said. As the Toastmaster, my job is to make sure that the viewers at home and in the audience feel welcome. Toastmasters are where leaders are made, and that is the theme of our meeting today, leadership. Every role at the meeting is an opportunity to practice 10 leadership skills. I'll cover a couple of them today. Our program, everyone should have an agenda. Our program is divided into 3 parts: impromptu speaking, where we learn to think quickly on our feet and respond to surprise questions in an effective manner. Then we have the prepared presentations. Today we're privileged to hear speeches from a newer Toastmaster, and Frank Capel, and from a 20-year veteran, Rick Davis, distinguished Toastmaster. Our third portion of the meeting is the listening, reporting, and responding evaluation portion of the meeting. Each speaker receives immediate feedback on their strengths and where they have opportunities to grow. We begin our impromptu portion of the meeting with word power. As a grammarian, you have to listen, practice critical thinking by being informed, give feedback in a specific, encouraging manner, and present your report within a allotted time. I can't wait to hear the word that Michael Washington has chosen for us today. Let us welcome Michael Washington, distinguished Toastmaster, for our word of the day.
Thank you, Carol, and fellow Toastmasters and guests. My word today is inflection. Inflection, a change in the pitch, tone, or loudness of the voice. For example, she couldn't understand her grandfather's words, but she knew from his inflection that he was asking a question. Changing the pitch, tone, or loudness of words are ways to communicate meaning in speech. Based on our topic today of leadership, communication is important. Inflection is important in communication. Communication is important in leadership.
Thank you, Michael, for that word of the day, inflection. And I do raise my voice and lower my voice, and sometimes I even pause to have good communication. The challenge is for you to find a way to use the word when you're up here at the lectern and incorporate that in what you're saying, inflection. And Michael will be counting the number of times you use that, and he will be also counting our killer filler words, the ums, the ahs, you knows, so's, my filler word, ands. Pay attention to your grammar today, and Michael will give you a report on how well you did. Our next portion of the meeting is a lot of fun. When you first come to the Toastmaster, you think, oh, I hope they don't call on me. And then you feel bad if they don't call on you. Table topics for the topic master takes planning and implementation as a facilitator to give us the opportunity to think on to learn to listen intently, think quickly, and give a 1 to 2 minute effective reply to a surprise question. Steve Ehrenholtz, distinguished Toastmaster and a member of the NIOSH Club also, will help you sharpen your thinking and listening skills today. Let us welcome Steve Ehrenholtz, distinguished Toastmaster. Gently, I have a big bruise there.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, our honored guests looking in from home, and those of you in our studio here. As Carol mentioned, Table Topics is the opportunity that we have to work on our impromptu speaking skills. I have some questions regarding a topic that I'm going to be asking, and then I will call upon someone to respond to that question. They'll have 1 to 2 minutes to come up here and provide us with basically a short speech in response to my question. We'll see how creative everyone can be this morning. One of the things that prompted me to come up with my topic today for Table Topics is I was at Home Depot and Lowe's over the last 2 weeks. I mean, I'm always going there anyway. And I noticed there's so much activity, especially in the garden center and people trying to repair things. And I thought, that might be good for Table Topics. I have one of my documents that I use when I need to fix something at home. It's one of the first places I go to see what's this going to take, do I think I can do it, and do I have an idea how many trips I'm going to have to make to the stores to get everything I need. With that theme, my questions are going to be related to doing things around the home or your yard, and I'd like to get your perspective in response to my questions. And my first question I have is, when you have something that you have to repair, what is your approach? Give us a little perspective on what approach you take when you realize you have something that has to be repaired and you want to try and do it yourself. My first respondent that I'm going to call upon today is Shankar Raswa. Shankar, if you'll come up here and tell us what your approach is to a do-it-yourself job, whether it's around your home or your apartment or your condo. Shankar?
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everyone. Well, it's a trick question, but we all think about when we get repaired products, how to put things together, get the tools together and fix it. I go through the same process. First of all, I think about how big the process is, how long it'll take, and can I do it by myself. And then I think about what tool should I use, and then I call for help. No, actually, if things are small, like fixing, a light bulb in a car or things like that, I can do it myself. But if things are big, seriously, I call for help, and I think that's the best way to go about it. It helps for jobs, and also it makes things easier for you, and you do it the right way. Thank you.
Thank you, Shankar. Yes, there's nothing worse than getting halfway or 3/4 of the way through a project and it's still not right, and you're thinking, okay, who do I have to call now to come and finish putting this together? The next question that I have is, what is the process that you use when you have to go and find someone from outside, a tradesperson, to come and do a repair project for you? What is the process that you use, and what are some of the things that you think of? Sheena?
I have never had to do a home repair because I've never owned a home. But should I in the future, I would probably just Google it at first because that's my go-to. And then I'd probably ask my friends and my family who they would recommend. And then I'd check them out, make some phone calls, call them up, see how credible they were. And then I would call their number and they'd come to my home and fix all my things. Hopefully it wouldn't be too extensive. I just don't own a home.
Thank you, Sheena. But you mentioned a really good approach that a lot of people do use, and that is to consult with friends and family, because that way you can learn from their experience whether it was somebody that they would use again, or if you really do need to keep looking for someone else that can help you out. I'd like to call on our guests today for Table Topics. Were you willing to participate? Okay, good. The question that I have is, give us a brief recap of an experience that you had having something repaired and what you learned from it that you might do different next time. And this could be a home repair or a do-it-yourself project, or it could even be something like a car repair, something like that. So give us an experience that you had with a repair. It can be positive or negative experience, and why, and share that with us. And I'm going to call upon our guest this morning with us, Patty Raggets. Patty?
Stand up here?
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks, Stephen.
you're welcome.
Let's see, a home repair. Well, I'll talk about maybe my car. A couple years ago, my transmission went. So I called Honda. I owned a Honda Odyssey. So I called Honda and I said that my services have always been done at Honda. That when I purchased my car, they said that I would get a free transmission in lieu of my car transmission ever going. So it did, so I called them and I said, all my services have been done at Honda. What can you do for me? They said, well, I'm sorry, but you missed one appointment. So I looked back at my records and I had said, I called the lady back and I said, if you looked at the time frame where I did not get a service, it was because I extended my service because it was the time where the economy crashed. And my husband had said, you can go without your service. Extend it, we can afford it. So I said, if it was in 2008 in October that I missed, it was because of that. My husband is a stockbroker, and he said, do not spend any money, everything was crashing, you know. So I said, with that, I do not have any records of going anywhere else. I just went more miles over, but I kind of fought it, and the woman called me back and said that I get a free transmission because of that. What I would do different, maybe I would go to Honda as opposed to calling because it's not that far from my house. But I did thank them for giving me good service. And I tell all my clients, of course, because you know I do hair, so I'm in touch with a lot of people. So that's it.
Thank you, Patty. Yes, persistence pays. And the other thing that I have found with my own cars is that there's a certain satisfaction when they start giving you flack about something that you are trying to have done and that is not out of line. There's nothing like saying to them, well, you're the only place we bring our car for service, so you've done it all, and you sell these, so I want it fixed. It makes it a little bit more difficult for them to argue. All right, I think we have time for one more table topics today. And my next question is, if you would share with us a home repair experience, either that you've had personally or that you know someone had, share with us a home repair experience gone wrong and what you learned from it. And I'd like to call Diego Martinez up to share with us his perspective on that.
Thank you, Steve. Well, it came up in a good time, the question, actually, because 2 weeks ago, I have a leakage of the water in my bathroom, in the master bedroom, and I wake up this morning and I saw water around, and I said, ooh, what's going on? I mean, so my first instant that what I did was I tried to first stop the water, because that's something that I know how to do. It's pretty easy. So, and then I went to Lowe's, was my first thing. So I went and asked the guy what could be the wrong thing. So I took pictures with my cell phone and I documented before I went to the store. And he said, well, there is two things that you can do. One thing could be the water that is coming from the tank to the wall, or could be only just something that is missing in that part. So I said, what I can do? So he suggested to me that I need to, first of all, have another person if it's the tank, so in order to have to tweak it something in the tank. And the second thing that he said, well, where was the leakage? Could be from different places. So it could be from the tank or could be from the wall. So I said, well, here's the pictures. And he said, well, I cannot see anything from here. So what I did was I bought the part, and I went back home and turned off the water again. I changed what I need to be done. And then after I did, I noticed that the leakage was gone. So that was the thing. But a week later, I saw something in my garage that was leakage, and I was like, oh, this had to be kidding me, but it's the same. So I turned back the water, and I went home. I went to work. And then when I come back, I said, okay, but here's the thing, what I'm going to do. So I bought the part again, but there was another leakage in another bathroom. So my learning experience from this one is like you can stop the water. This is the first thing that you can do at the first time. But how the resources, how you're going to implement it in order to fix the situation. So last Thursday, I was able to invite some friends to some community church, and one of the guys said, well, here's the solution. There's something that is missing, is not well tight, so he tied it for me, and then that's what solved the situation. So I don't have more leakage for this summer, so that's good. Thank you.
Thank you, Diego. Yes, that's always fun too. Water problems are always a real thrill. And sometimes I get to the point where it's like, okay, what is it that gave out, and how many more of those do I have, and can I replace them all right now? That will conclude our impromptu speaking portion of our meeting for today. I want to thank all of the participants this morning, and especially our guest, Patty, because I think this is probably the first time we've put her on a spot like this. She hasn't visited a Toastmasters club before, so I'm hoping we haven't chased you away yet. Turn it back to our Toastmaster, Carol.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well. There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard.
I have a dream.
It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Our speaking takes planning and implementation to stay within the allotted time for the speech. And our first speaker this morning, Frank Capel, is presenting Project 2 from the Basic Manual, the Competent Communicator Manual, on Organize Your Speech. And he has 5 to 7 minutes to present his speech. Frank will be telling us about his trip to Argentina. Let us welcome Frank Capel, the trip to Argentina.
Thank you, everybody. I took my trip to Argentina about 9 years ago, and it's one of the most difficult trips I had ever taken. Argentina being a fairly modern country, I thought it would be a very simple trip to take, and I learned a lot of lessons from this trip about personal security and some different areas like that. Started my trip in CVG, took off, headed down to Argentina. Very nice flight, arrived in Buenos Aires, the capital of Argentina, and I had an arranged hotel transfer from the hotel. I always do this for my security reasons. The driver who picks you up at the airport, they know that you have everything on you at that point. All your cash, credit cards, your cameras. If somebody's going to rob you, that's probably the best place to rob you because they can get it all. Well, my driver that met me was he was a real character. He said, I'd like to take you out to lunch. And I said, well, that sounds good. I said, but I'd like to go to the hotel first because I wanted to get rid of my stuff. I didn't tell him what I just told you. But he wouldn't hear of it. So we went back and forth rather aggressively for a while. And I quickly realized that we were going to go out to lunch before we went back to the hotel. He was not going. He parked the car and we were going. So we walked into this restaurant, very crowded. And I was like, they're really too crowded. I said, let's get out of here. He goes, no. He goes, we got a special place we're going. So we walked back to the back, around by the kitchen. We went down into a cellar. You're going to think I'm teasing because this is Argentina. We walked into a scene that looked like a mafia movie out of Hollywood. It was unbelievable. A bunch of Italian guys, we were down in a wine cellar. They had some tables set up. I told the guy, I said, you seem to understand English really clearly. I said, I want you to understand this very clearly. I said, I'm not going to drink any alcohol. I said, if the guy tries to bring out alcohol, you tell him that I don't want it. I'm not going to drink anything but a Coca-Cola and a sealed can. So I kept thinking about getting slipped a Mickey. Maybe I was being a little too exaggerating. I had all my suitcases in the car, but I had my backpack. I had several $1,000s on me, and I was like, I'm not going to get knocked out in this place. And anyway, they brought out a shot glass. They brought a shot glass for his thing, and we went back and forth with these guys, and they were upset. People out of the kitchen, you're offending these guys. You have to drink this drink. I said, I'm not drinking the drink, and I even got to a point. I said, I'll pay for the drink. I'm not drinking the drink. And I told the driver, I said, you drink it. He said, I can't drink it. And I said, well, I'm not drinking it either. And finally, they came up with a deal where one of the cooks or somebody drank it for me. It was some kind of custom. They could come around with this thing, but he disappeared in the back. I never seen him again. And anyway, I paid for it, and he had a pretty nice lunch, actually. We left there and went back to the hotel. I was pretty tired at that point after my long flight. Got a shower, skipped dinner that night, just went to bed, and got up early. I had a full day in Brutus Sardis that day and that evening. And I headed out for a walk in the city. That was probably the most daunting and biggest city I've ever been in my life. Everything looked the same on the outside of these buildings. I thought I had the hotel name memorized, and I thought I had my street name memorized. But not knowing Spanish real well, and I soon forgot the street name, and I soon forgot the hotel, and I was soon very, very lost. And probably the closest I came to as a grown man to crying. That was a very, very scary experience. And it ended up being about 4 o'clock at night when I finally wandered back to where I found my hotel, and I have to say that was a miracle from God, because I was praying, and I was really, really scared. I had no contacts. I had nothing. No way to find my way home. But I got back to the hotel, I took my shower, and I was pretty hungry from walking around all day, so I came down and I asked the clerk. And this time I got a little brochure with the name of the hotel on it, which was going to be in my pocket, where I'd go to eat. Well, it happened there was a mall inside of a high-rise, only about a block down the street. So I started out of the hotel and went down the street, and I was met by this young lady, and she had a cute little child with Down syndrome. She came up to me and she said, "Need medicine for my child, $20. And it's like, I know I'm getting conned, but $20 out the child, I'll give her $20. Here you go. But she wouldn't go away. She needed more money. So I was like, I'm not going to give you any more money. I give you $20 like you asked, and that's it. And then she started taking her baby, and she put it up to my chest like she wanted me to grab her baby. And it was the act of God's cutest baby. If you'd really want to hold this baby. And I was like, I didn't put my arms around it. She'd act like she was going to let it slip. And I found out later back at the hotel, I was talking to the girl at the desk, and she said, that's a con game they play. As soon as you hold that baby, that mother's going to take off into the crowd, and she'll be back in about a minute with a bunch of people. He stole my baby, and this can be settled for a few $100s, but very, very bad situation. But I don't know. I got out of that, and I got away from her. And I walked down a little bit further, and these two young boys, I don't know what caught my attention. They're about 6 or 7 years old, but the way they approached each other was very bizarre. They're like very friendly faces, like they were very happy to greet, but there was something weird. And the one boy said something to the other kid. Kid nodded. He patted him down, just like a police officer would pat somebody down, and then the other boy pat the other boy down. They exchanged some stuff. They both went their own separate ways, and it was really a wake-up call. So I went to the mall, and I had my dinner, and I made it back to the hotel. And I started, I had a good night's sleep, and I got up in the morning. I flew up to a small mountain community up in the ski areas. Now, that was a fun area, a completely different situation. It's very safe. You'd see young girls hitchhiking, and I even said to my driver, I said, don't they know that's not safe? Oh, it's very safe here. do it all the time. And it was a very wonderful community up there. That big city was a real surprise for me. And at the end of the, from there I got on and I took a trip through the jungles and across these lakes over to Chile to end my trip. And I got over to the hotel where I was going to stay in Chile, and I got settled in. I asked the girl at the desk, I said, where can I go get something to eat? And we didn't speak real well because of the language barrier. She said, down the street, there's a little restaurant. So I get down the street, go up to the door, and the door's locked. But the place was crowded. So I start walking away, and I hear on the window. And I look, and there's this lady, and she's looking out. She's like, come back to the door. And so I go back to the door, and she's looking out again, and she unlocks the door. She grabs my arm, and she pulls me inside, and she's like, she locks the door again. She goes, oh, okay, come on, sit down, have your dinner. I was really, again, it was like a scene out of a mafia movie. You know, these people were sitting around, and I was like, phew. I found out later that the mafia was working very heavy, the Italian mafia is working very heavy in Argentina, Chile, and even the Philippines, because they're a very stable country as far as the government, or fairly stable, yet they're small enough where the police can be corrupt in law enforcement. So there's just a couple tips I had when you travel, if you keep in mind. Thanks, everybody.
Frank, stay there. Frank. Frank, we never leave the lectern unattended. We always return control to the next person. Thank you for that scary speech. I would have been petrified. I think I would have wanted to leave soon after that first experience. You're fortunate.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
Our second speaker today, Rick Davis, is a distinguished Toastmaster, and he is also a member of the NIOSH Club. He is our incoming president, and he is giving his inaugural address. A call to action. Rick Davis, distinguished Toastmaster, Rick Davis.
Thank you, Carol. So as you know, I was railroaded into being president again. That's okay. If you ask any Toastmaster about their club, they'll tell you that it's special. It may be the world's most nearly perfect club. Have you ever heard that phrase before? It may be the only club that meets in a funeral parlor. I don't know. I don't think they meet there anymore, but there was a club that met in a funeral parlor a few years back. It may be the only club that has a dinner meeting. But this club is truly special. It says it in our name, TV Toastmasters. This club tapes every meeting, edits it, and puts it on TV, first at the Anderson Community Access Channel, the Union Township Community Access Channel, and then onto YouTube. In addition, every speaker that speaks up here and gives a 3 to 7 minute speech, whatever they're giving, gets a copy of that particular show. This club is also special in a lot of other ways. What other club do you know that has 5 distinguished Toastmasters? Carol, Steve, Sheila, Michael, and me. This represents a lot of Toastmaster experience, a lot of Toastmaster time. A lot of time. I was thinking about, I wonder how much time we've all spent giving speeches. Probably hours if you put them all together, because it takes a lot of speeches to get to be a DTM. And once you're a DTM, you give a lot of speeches. So we've probably all spent hours up in the lectern. But this club is special in another way. When most clubs drop the gavel at the end of the meeting's over until the next meeting. This club, when the gavel drops, things just get started. A whole series of additional events have to happen in order to make this club successful. The meeting has to be edited, so we take the tape that we're making during the meeting, and it has to be cut up into pieces and made into a coherent whole. The staff then burns a master DVD, Andy or Shane or somebody, and then that master is taken by one of our members and is burned into additional DVDs to be handed out. Those DVDs have to be packaged and mailed. Meanwhile, DVDs have to be bought, tapes have to be purchased, envelopes have to be purchased, someone has to run to the post office and mail these DVDs off. All of these things take time. Each task alone doesn't take a whole lot of time, but when you put it all together, it can really be a burden. And if this burden isn't shared, things can take a lot of time. Most clubs have standard roles. They have a Toastmaster, they have 2 or 3 speakers, they have evaluators, they have the word power, they have an awe counter, they have a general evaluator and timer. We have all those in our club too. Our club is special in that we have additional roles. We have the director, we have camera operators, and we have a producer, someone who does the editing. This club is also special in another way. Look around. Look at all the people with gray hair. Now, there are some people that don't have any hair. Some people that color their hair, but we're an older club. So in addition to a lot of experience, our club has a lot of age. Did you know that, for example, Sheila is going to be gone to Europe for next year, so that we're going to be down a DTM. We're going to be down an experienced person, someone who's been a producer and a camera person. And I'm thinking about retiring in the next couple of years, and I'm planning on moving away from Cincinnati. So we're going to end up lacking experience there too. I believe this is my 3rd presidency as the president of TV Toastmasters, and I'm issuing a call to the membership. This is a special club, and it needs to be continued on into the future. I challenge each member to learn a new skill. I'm calling on our VP of Education to schedule learning opportunities, and we've done this in the past, learning opportunities at the beginning of a meeting to learn about the technical side of TV Toastmasters. There are 24 meetings over the next year. I challenge you to take some time off from working on this side of the camera to working on that side of the camera, trying something new. And I have a feeling that you might find a new way to enjoy TV Toastmasters. Madam Toastmaster?
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Farmer says, doctor says, chicken says...
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken.
Let us welcome our general evaluator today, our outgoing president, Michelle Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As Carol mentioned, this transitions into probably the most important part of our meeting. We can practice speaking pretty much anywhere, but where do we have the opportunity to gain critical feedback in order to improve our speaking and communication skills? And that's what this portion of the meeting is dedicated to. So as a general evaluator, I have a team that helps me provide feedback to our speakers today as well as our other meeting participants. So our team today has an evaluation. Rick Barron will be evaluating Frank Capel. We have Paul Wessels will be evaluating Rick Davis. I also have Michael Washington, who we saw earlier, who's going to be giving us the grammarian report, and then Mary Arms will be giving the timers report. I'd now like to welcome our first evaluator today, Mr. Rick Barron. Rick is an advanced communicator bronze and an advanced leader silver, well on his way to becoming a DTM. Rick Barron.
Thank you, Michelle. A trip to Argentina. I've actually been to Argentina, and Frank and I were sharing a few notes about his trip and my experience, And there was some matchup there too. So some very important lessons, I think, if you're traveling to South America. And that was really the purpose of Frank's speech, was to share some learnings and insights that he got from his visit down to Argentina and to Chile that we may be able to reapply as we travel abroad. The objective of his speech was to be well organized, a beginning, a body, and a conclusion. And because this speech was a story, it followed that path really well. Starting out in Cincinnati, the trip down there, moving on to Chile, the whole thing worked really well in terms of how the speech was organized. In addition, you asked me to look for a couple of things. Were you speaking clearly? I was sitting in the very back of the room, and I had no trouble hearing or understanding you, so I thought you did very well in terms of the clear communication. You asked about ahs and ums. Is your favorite filler word, and I think Michael will give us a count here. We'll see how we compared on the counts there. So is definitely your filler word in terms of your speech. There were a few things that I really enjoyed about the speech. One was the humor that you brought into the speech. You got a couple of laughs, some chuckles and some giggles about going out to lunch, about being slipped a Mickey. There were a few things in there that really got us laughing and engaged us that way. That was very good. You're good with gestures. You use your hands, you were counting, some wide open things like that. Very good with gestures that way. And you even used kind of some inflection by whispering that time when she was at the window. So I think that was also very good as well. There are two suggestions that I have for you, and they relate to the ends of your speech. The opening, you started your speech, I took my trip to Argentina. And I think the speech would benefit by having a powerful question as an opening. Something like, have you ever traveled outside the United States? Well, you're in for a real treat because I've got some lessons for you that you can use to reapply the next time you go outside the United States. Something that engages us with a question and then promises us a solution as an opening. At that conclusion, I would summarize those lessons that you shared with us to kind of reinforce for us those things, give us those takeaways so that we can have something that we can take home with us. The speech was well organized. You were very comfortable up here. And it was something that seemed very easy and flowing for you. Brief use of your notes, but overall, I think it was a story that you knew and that you communicated very effectively. Thank you. Back to Michelle.
Thank you, Rick. Sorry, I was taking notes. We are now going to move on to the evaluation for our second speech. Mr. Paul Wessels will be evaluating Rick Davis's speech. Paul is a competent communicator.
Thank you. Michelle, thank you. I'm going to evaluate Rick Davis, and the title of the speech was A Call to Action, which I think summarizes the objective in the speech. And he starts out really interesting. He gives us a little dry humor. You know, hey, I was railroaded into this. But we know that he really didn't mean that. It was kind of a joke, but he was kind of prepping us. And that's the objective of the speech. Look, I've done this 3 times. I've been here a long time. People need to step up. So it was a very interesting, double meaning little first utterance, which I thought was very interesting. So then he went on to give us some details on this particular section or Toastmasters club and how really unique or special it was. And so he went on to say, 1, we're on TV. This is something a little bit different than what you see before or have been experienced if you went to other Toastmaster meetings. 2, you get taped, which I think personally is very valuable. You can actually see yourself up here giving your speech, which is another unique thing about the club. Also, we have a lot of experienced people in the club. He mentioned 5 distinguished Toastmasters, and that is very unique. He keeps going on. We have other things to do, which is unique to this club. We edit. We have DVDs. We've got to produce something. So again, something a little bit different than other Toastmaster clubs. And so it gave us, once explaining how special it was or how different we were, a little call to action. You know, hey, there's a little bit more in this particular club than normal, and we have to do some other things, and people kind of need to step up here. So the same kind of theme went on. What I liked about the speech is, as a TV Toastmaster, it made me feel proud and lucky that I chose this particular club. It gave you a good feeling. Hey, you're in a good club here. And it made me, know really how valuable this particular club is. All TV Toastmasters can help you out, but this is something a little bit different, a little bit special. Improvement areas, I'm going to say it, inflection. Maybe you can do a little bit more inflection in your speech. With Rick, it's hard to come up with something. Maybe a little movement around, but I like Rick's, that's his style. It's a dry humor style. I do kind of the same thing. So those are the 2 improvement areas. What I liked most about the speech was, again, the dry humor, the call to action, the way he linked everything in. And just, it really was, if you have to say it, it was an inspiring speech. In not a rah-rah kind of way, but just factual. Here it is. Here's what's going on. So, in my opinion, a very inspiring speech is what I liked about it the most. Thank you, Rick.
Now I'm going to introduce Michael Washington, who is our grammarian, and Michael will give feedback around using the word of the day as well as our language errors or areas where we could watch out for. Michael Washington.
All right, folks, I give you all this in good taste, and I'm going to start out with myself. I had 3 ands. Okay. Rick Davis had 1 You had a couple of it can. Let's see. Toastmasters, so that's it for Rick Davis. Rick B, you had 1 that's it. And Paul, you had 5 so's, 4 ahs, and 1 lip suck. So, and Diego had 2 lip sucks, 1 3 so's. And Shankar, okay, he was fine. Frank, Rick was right about the arms. I mean, you start really getting on the roll with that. Once you hit 10, I said, that's it, you hit the limit. So I just stopped counting, man, but it's all good. You're going to be fine. I have some other notes. And Patty, she had 3 lick-ups. Now, with the lick-ups, I don't know if you guys doing little small kisses or whatever it is, but so I'll try to distinguish the difference. But as far as Rick and Paul, we're going to cancel out one of the areas of opportunity since you use the word inflection. So you're good with that. Okay. Now, in closing, I think with some of our backgrounds, demographics, that plays a part in our speaking, and more practice, relaxing when we're speaking, I think that's going to help. And to support our inflections with more practice, we'll eventually start communicating our ideas even more, our thoughts and our feelings. So everyone does a good job with that. There's no problem with everyone talking, but the other areas mainly is just going to be practice with our speeches and then relaxing. Madam General, congratulations.
Thank you, Michael. And last but not least, I'm going to invite Mary Arms, our timer, to come up and give the timer report.
Excellent. Well, hello, everyone. Well, today, the timer's report is pretty good, to tell you the truth. Michael, your word power, you were a minute and 5 seconds. Now, in table topics, which is 1 to 3 minutes, Shankar, you were 52 seconds. Sheena, 41 seconds. Patty, 2 minutes and 15 seconds. And Diego, 2 minutes and 35 seconds. On the speakers, Frank, which was 5 to 7, which you told me, you were 7 minutes and 37 seconds. Rick, were 4 minutes and 42 seconds. I keep looking back at him. I don't know why. There's too many Ricks. Rick Barron, you were on the evaluations. It was 3 minutes and 34 seconds. Paul, 2 minutes and 54 seconds. Michael and the grammarian, 2 minutes and 10 seconds. And Michelle, as a general evaluator, 4 minutes and 5 seconds. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Mary. And just a few quick words. Thanks to the team that helped support the evaluation portion of our meeting. I also am responsible for giving some feedback regarding today's meeting. We did get started a few minutes late, but it wasn't too bad. I believe it was probably 3 or 4 minutes later than we normally like to start by 9:20. I also want to start out by giving myself some feedback. I forgot to mention the website at the beginning of the meeting. So www.tvtoastmasters.com if you want to learn more about our club. I also got distracted. I was multitasking, taking notes, and didn't realize that I had to come back up to the podium. So need to be aware when you're trying to multitask and take notes. I wanted to mention, Steve, you did a great job of easing our guest into the table topic today. You gave her a little heads up. You explained what she needed to do, and I think sometimes we catch our guests off guard. So Steve did a really nice job of easing Patty into it. Patty, you got up and spoke, and you did great. Most people take 15, 20 seconds and they want to scurry off. You were relaxed. You used the time up here wisely, so fantastic job. Rick and Paul, my two evaluators, they did a great job. They used the sandwich method, which is what we try to do, is one of the methods we try to use in Toastmasters, starting out with positive, giving some critical feedback in between, that's kind of the meat, and then ending with positive. So fantastic job there. Michael, I really like how you added the pointers when you were giving the grammarian report. You gave some tips to the rest of the group. The only suggestion I have for you is maybe put the word of the day up on either here or on the podium just to remind the group to use the word of the day. So overall, fantastic meeting, and I will now turn it back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Michelle, for that fantastic job and the words of encouragement. And you did what a lot of evaluators forget to do, is to comment on how well the evaluators did their portion of the meeting. If you enjoyed this meeting, well, we're not finished. We have a very important next step, is the installation of our officers, and we are privileged to have our area governor for this year, Jen Elsperman, to be our installing officer. So let us welcome Jen Elsperman for our installation ceremony.
Thank you, Carol. It is my privilege today to install the officers of TV Toastmasters Club 9523. To begin, I'd like to ask the current club officers for the 2012-2013 year to please stand. You are now discharged from your duties and responsibilities as officers of TV Toastmasters. Thank you for your service. Next, I'm going to ask the incoming officers for the year 2013 to 2014 to please come forward, starting with the Sergeant at Arms, Steve. Could you stand over here? And then second, our Treasurer, Carol. Our Secretary, Suzanne. Our VP of PR, Sheena. Our VP of Membership, Michelle. Our VP of Education, Michael. and our president, Rick Davis. I am here to install the officers of Club TV Toastmasters number 9523 and to prepare them for the challenges that lie ahead. Their collective challenge is to make this club strong, dedicated to helping people from all walks of life to speak in an effective manner, listen with sensitivity, and think creatively. I will ask each officer to hold the gavel as a symbol of leadership as I briefly describe the challenges he or she must meet and the responsibilities he or she must fulfill. Steve, you're the Sergeant at Arms?
Yep.
Okay. The responsibility of the Sergeant at Arms is to prepare the club meeting space, to arrange for the meeting space, and to set up the club meeting space ahead of time of the club meetings. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
I will.
Okay. I'm going to ask you to hold the gavel as a symbol of your authority in the office of Sergeant at Arms. Thank you, Steve. Would you please pass it to Carol? Carol, your responsibilities as treasurer, as you are perfectly well aware, are to collect club dues, to remit those dues to Toastmasters International, and to submit information online to Toastmasters International about the club. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
I will.
Thank you. Congratulations to Carol. Pass it to Sheena. Sheena, as Vice President of Public Relations, it is your responsibility to promote the activities of TV Toastmasters to the media and the public at large. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
Yes.
Thank you. Congratulations to Sheena. Michelle, it is your responsibility as Vice President of Membership to promote the membership of this club, to grow the membership, and to retain the current members of the club. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
I will.
Congratulations. Michael, as the Vice President of Membership, it is your responsibility. Oh, sorry, I messed that up.
Now work together.
Yeah, as the Vice President of Education, it is your responsibility to promote the growth and the education of the members of this club. Will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
Yes.
Congratulations on your membership. Toastmaster Rick Davis, having been elected as president of TV Toastmasters, you are its chief executive officer. And you're expected to preside at all club meetings and at all regular and special meetings of the executive committee. It is your challenge to see that this club enables its members to achieve their educational goals. It is also your challenge to see that your club helps the area, division, district, and Toastmasters International to meet their goals. Please accept the gavel as a symbol of your leadership and dedication to office. The gavel is a symbol of the power and authority given to you by the membership of this club. Use it wisely and with restraint. You are a member of your team as well as a leader. A team is more than a collection of people. It is an emotional force, rooted in the feelings, thoughts, and actions of all members, with the common goal of achievement, sharing, and mutual support. Work with your team members to create a healthy, dynamic club, and a club of which everyone is proud. Will you, as president, accept this challenge and perform your duties to the best of your abilities?
I will.
It is now my pleasure to declare these Toastmasters installed into the offices to which they have been elected. Will the members of the club please stand? The growth and development of the Toastmasters program and TV Toastmasters depends largely on the actions of this group. On your honor, as men and women of Toastmasters, do you pledge to individually and collectively stand by this club, live with it, and work with it throughout the coming year?
Yes.
Congratulations to the 2013 and 2014 officers of TV Toastmasters, Club 9523. You are now the president, and it is your honor to close the meeting.
All right. With that, let everybody get back to their seat. With that, I would like to close today's meeting, June 15th,
2013 TV Toastmasters.
What future do you envision for yourself? What dreams do you have? If you want your dreams to come true, you must have confidence in yourself and your abilities. A Toastmasters Club can help you build that confidence. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters shows you how to express yourself clearly and effectively. Make your dreams a reality. Join a Toastmasters Club.